All right, we're all set. Well, thank you for joining. I can't believe we are here today. Excited, super
Hercules,
excited.
Yeah,
Hercules, Hercules.
absolutely. I know. I'm so excited.
Yes, you did your homework. Very good. You want to
No,
go
no,
first?
ladies first.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Okay, so yeah, so Greg and I have been married for 30 years, but we've been together almost what, 40? Over how
Wait a
many
minute,
years?
how I didn't
Wait, how
rob the
many years?
cradle?
How many years
Wait a
have we been
minute, what
here?
do you have any?
How many years we've been together?
We're in March. We're going to be together 32 years, but 27 of those years will have
Yeah.
been married.
Yeah, 27. I got my age in
I don't
there.
want anyone playing any type of
Yes.
different music about me, like I went and
So
just grabbed that
27
from
years
someplace
we've
else.
been together and 30 years married. And well no. 30 years together, 27 years coming in March. We'll be married. Greg knows these numbers like the back of his head. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I'll say it.
Yeah, he does. He's a numbers guy, and I can say that.
There's
But
some of us out here.
yeah,
There's
there's
some of
some.
us
He
out here.
knows it better than I. He is good. But what I will say is that the relationship had came with very a lot of ups and downs,
Mhm.
tribulations, and all kind of other stuff that came with that. And what we learned is through the bankruptcy. We are parents of six wonderful young adults now, which we are so excited about.
That means they're
And
out the house. That no.
oh, well, all
Okay.
right. Well, all
Amen.
right.
Amen.
Our oldest is 26.
Oh no, there was a time we refused to have cable in the home. So there was other things that had to be done as for entertainment purposes. No, I said that there was a time that we did not have cable in the home. So we had to do other things for entertainment purposes, and that's how those six kids started to come about.
All right, let me
Probably.
make sure our sound is all the way up. Yeah, our sound is all the way up.
Don't worry. I think yeah, I think I'm on the AirPod.
Yeah, so he said that we didn't have any cable in the house, so that's what we had other extracurricular activity.
Hmm.
Yeah, sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of us that are in the relationship, like we had to learn how to be married, right? We had to learn how to be together. And we both came from single parent households, right? And I did not see a thriving relationship. So there was things that we came into this relationship with. And towards, I would say, the 10th year of our relationship, it really started to go left. And it's when I do believe that Greg lost his position. That was the 15th year in, you think?
No, that was a yeah, no, that was about 10 years in.
Yeah. So 10 years in, Greg lost his position.
Hmm.
And that was a big thing. So we went from two incomes to one income, and then we were still rocking out like we still had the one income, two incomes. So we had the big cars, we had the two houses. I mean, we were rocking, we were doing what we needed to do until we didn't know how to do
Well, I would say,
it.
well,
Until we didn't know how to do
can,
it.
can you hear me? Can you hear me? I want to make sure. Oh, you still can't hear
Okay,
me.
so I'm gonna, yeah, take it out and put it back in. Can you hear her though?
Yeah, I can hear her.
Okay, so okay, let's see. Okay, talk now.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See what I'm saying?
Okay, so I'm gonna have share mine.
So can you hear me now? How about now?
Why is it that you can
Oh,
hear,
that's
but
interesting. But anyway, I'm just gonna say what it was. See, one of the things that we learned over time was that we were still staying at a particular level that was not workable. So when I had lost my position, we had decided and continued to act as if I still had my
she can't?
position.
They can't hear
You
you.
can't hear me?
No, they can't hear you. So we're gonna reset Greg's, and let's see if that did it. Because you can hear me well, right? Okay, is that good? Can you hear her?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Ah,
Okay.
yay.
Oh, you can't knock technology, boy. Yeah, see what I'm saying? It went out again.
Okay, so I'm gonna share mine, and then you talk to her through that. Okay, you need to hold. You need to put it in your ear. So go ahead, so you can.
This is marriage 101. Can we hear me now? Can we hear me now? How? Okay.
Where's the other one?
Here's the other one. And so we started to keep the same level of spending, the same level of movement, which was not workable. It was definitely not workable. And after a while, we started to recognize that it started to really become more paramount within the relationship when, those bills started piling up. That Amex bill was looking kind of funny. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, something had to change. And that was probably some of the darker moments of our relationship because not only were we trying to attempt to keep up with the Joneses, but at the same time, we started understanding that we wasn't navigating with each other in a proper way. So that there was a time frame that I believe that we had to go through that in order for us to be strengthened. Because before we were still under this cloud of fallacy. It was just about love and marriage and all that other good stuff. But at the same time, when the money is acting funny, no one is happy.
So to answer your question, can you hear me? Perfect. So to answer your question, looking at from your aspect of who and like you don't have any money in your pocket, like you just said, to want to be in a relationship, you have to begin to agree on what you're going to do when you meet someone. So when you're looking, okay,
It's that AirPod.
so
So
no problem.
no.
We're working it out.
We're gonna
You see
switch.
how-
We're gonna switch out when it's time for one
yeah,
of us to
because we
talk.
can hear you perfectly fine in that one. So we'll just switch out when we want to talk. We make it happen. We make it happen. So when you look at your story surrounding money, you got to look at how you see money, and you guys have to begin to agree what you're going to do with money. And we had different stories surrounding money. I was a spender, and he was a saver. And I didn't know. Absolutely. But I was having too much fun. I was having too much fun. So, in the very beginning of our marriage, I hid my credit card bills and stuff. Because, back in the day, I don't know if they had it then, but when I went to college, they had these little kiosks set up outside with a whole bunch of credit cards. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get this credit card, that credit card, this credit card, this credit card. And I had like 5 credit cards. So yes, they outside of the colleges, they would mark and they would really pinpoint young. Well, I don't know if they do it in the other schools, but I know in our neighborhoods, they would put these kiosks of credit card companies, and we would jack up our credit from young. So I had to learn about credit. I had to learn about the story of my money. So I was raised with a single mother that she was robbing Peter to pay Paul and things of that nature. And we never had stories surrounding that. Where Greg was raised in a household where he learned how to save money. He learned how to manage money, right? And that was a real push and pull. So if you're going to look in a relationship, you need to have to start to have those money conversations early on.
Well, one of the things, see, if someone is willing to build with you, that's where it all, you can't, see, even a gold digger has its purpose. See, a gold digger is looking for something. Now, if that person is digging for gold, because a gold digger could be a male or a female, so we're not going to just put it on one side or the other. So now, when you start to recognize that if you're digging for gold and somebody's willing to dig with you, then you found the right person to work with, because you both gotta get in that ground and get dirty and be able to work together. Now, if someone's just digging for gold for their own personal, satisfaction or ramification, then you already understand that you don't have a partner. You have someone that that you may lay with, but that's not someone that you can build with. So those early questions and those early conversations are so beneficial, because too many times, and as you stated, you can be you're in the age range that you could be our child. And there's times that we've had conversations with our young adult children, and we tell them, is that they would ask us, how did y'all, get married in the mid 90s, didn't really have two, nickels to rub together, and you decided to make it. I says, well, there was still a plan. There was a conversation. There was some level of agreement through communication that, look, we may be here now, but if we take the steps, because success is steps. And if you try to skip steps, that's when you're going to get lost. So if you allow yourself to take the steps, too many times we want everything in a microwave situation. We want everything instantaneous. Even as we respect the fact of technology that's going on today, at times this can be also a hindrance, because people see the people who are traveling all over the place and think that life is instantaneous. No, you have to build a life in order to have a life.
That's beautiful.
Oh God. Well, it was February. Actually, yeah, I have a date. February, I believe it was February 13th, 1990 when I met her. Met her 174th Street near the pizza shop. She was with her friend, had her Catholic school dress all hiked up.
Oh, that was Africa.
Legs was showing all over the place. And one of my good friends at the time introduced me to her, and she gave me her telephone number that exact same day. And what I did was I made sure it wasn't a bad number.
Yes.
And by the time she got home, her grandfather God bless the dead, her grandfather had asked exactly, who was this man who called this house? And then she called me back because she had my number. She's like, you could have got me in trouble. I says, no, I want to make sure you gave me the right number. I don't play that game. And so, it started from there. And there was a time she even, in the early stages when we first met, she actually picked someone uglier initially away from me. But that's a sidebar. We're not going to do that. We're not going to be disgruntled about that. But I was a little salty at the time. A little salty.
Okay, give me the. Okay, I didn't know you're going now. You're going a little far now. You're going a little far. You're going a little far.
See, I knew that.
Now you went a little far. You went a little far. Okay, he remembers that Catholic school uniform for a reason. Q. Okay, there was a reason for that particular outfit. Now, if I asked him what I wore a couple of days ago, now that no. Greg, do you remember? Greg, do you remember the outfit I had on? No, I don't remember, but I do remember that you spent so and so and so and so, that he will remember that, but he will not remember what I had on. So I will get the reason why he remembered that Catholic school uniform is because men are visual. Think about it. Men are visual. And women are inner. So even our genitalia, we're inner. So everything, we feel everything, right? Yeah, we feel everything. So that's why when they said that you entice them with them, we don't say that, we're not to say he's handsome or not. But in the very beginning of the relationship, I wasn't attracted to him at first. I was like, he's a big guy. And I was like, I'm not into big guys. But what
you
I
wanted
got.
Al B. Sure.
Yes. Oh yeah. Al B. Sure was the bomb back then. But
light skinned.
No, I didn't want.
Yes, you did.
No. You were a big guy. I was into like guys. I don't know what I was into because I was 15. So anyway, but when I met him, what attracted me to him is that when he asked me to go on a date, we didn't go to McDonald's. He said, I want to take you to a movie, and then I want to take you a restaurant. We went to Beefsteak Charlie. I was like, wait a minute. You got money. Right. You got money. So when I'm looking at him and I'm saying, wow, there's something different about him. And all the other guys that I dated, they were all about nonsense. And he was serious about, from a very early age, he was serious about building. Like Gregory back then, he was like, not back in the 90s, Sherlins and Jordans was the thing. Like my husband's a sneakerhead, right? And yeah, he's got a room. He's got his basement. Our basement is full. We'll take you down if we want to. But oh no. He's a sneakerhead. Any men his age around 50 in that era, they are sneakerheads. If they're from that era, they're sneakerheads. And I have no problem, but he saves his money so he can be able to purchase that. Gregory has always been that guy. We have to never worry about lights. We have to never worry about that stuff. However, in our relationship, we had to learn how he had to learn to be intimate with me. He had to learn that. He had to learn me. And that was where we were butting heads. Because there was parts of me with the A's. That's why it's affection, appreciation, acceptance, and the agreement, because the agreements change. Oh, you were talking about that.
One of the things that we have learned over time, and there were times that me and my wife had conversations about that, men can be sapiosexual as well. And when you're sapiosexual, you get stimulated not only by what you see, but the interactions and the communications that you have. It's almost as if when you recognize that conversation, conversation that builds, conversation that almost leads to a debate, conversation that allows for
Mm-hmm.
some level of a possibility. Once that happens, that actually helps with the sex because now you're moving it away from just looking at her body, but now you're tapping into her mind and she's sharing her mind. And if she's willing to share her mind, that means
Okay.
if you get a woman's mind, then it's easy to get a body. Anybody, I mean, that's they consider that the oldest profession in the world. That is the easiest thing to get. So even as I told our two young princes that we were able to be blessed with, we told them, says, look, getting a girl is easy, but spreading your seed all over the place doesn't make you a man. What makes you a man is that you can find someone that you can build a life with because now you're not wasting time, wasting seed all over the place, or thinking that you've proven that you're strong because you got woman after woman after woman. No, what really makes you strong is can you build with that one woman and all of a sudden create a legacy?
Let me tell you, you just literally, I hope my fellas are on here watching this because that has been the mind-boggling question where a lot of guys feel like the more women they have, the more manly or they're more of a man they are, not realizing that it takes one woman to build intimacy with. And if you're able to do that, then you got a gold mine, but it's also the hardest thing to do. Especially now I'm going to touch back on women who are independent or really strong or dominant women. And it comes with the whole emasculating thing because I myself am a dominant woman, but that's because I was raised by a dominant mother and I've watched her struggle, and watching her, like you said, rob Peter to pay Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, at the same time, my mother instilled that in me, but at the same time, you have these men who are trying to honestly break that down because it doesn't make them feel like a man if you're doing stuff for yourself. So how, as a man, how can you still, what advice do you basically have for women? Let's start with that, then we'll touch on the guy. What advice do you have for women who are dominant and independent? Should we tone it down a little bit or should we keep that demeanor?
Actually, and I'm going to liken it to the animal kingdom. And it's not that because we are part of the animal kingdom, regardless of what people may feel. Now, think of it this way. A female in the animal kingdom, say a lioness or any type of in the cat family, she's going to look for the strongest male. She's going to look for that male that if she's going to continue to or carry that male seed, she's not looking for the punk out the group. She's not looking for the runt. She's looking for the individual that she recognizes that may have to work a little harder. So it's not so much about asking a woman to really dial herself down. What it is about that if a man can step himself up and if he's confident in his space, he can deal with a strong woman. It's not about asking your woman to die because this one right here, strong as hell. But I recognize the fact of if she wasn't as strong, I wouldn't have respected her. I couldn't deal with a woman that I could easily walk over because then that can also propagate into where my seed would lay or the seed that would come out of her that we would create together. So I recognize that after a while, I was like, wait a minute, I need her to be strong. I don't need us to always be button heads, but I need her to be strong. Because if she's strong, that means I know my bloodline is going to be strong. If she's weak, then what I did was just allow myself to enter into a space and create something that may not be worth as much.
So may I say something here?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you to give me some advice for the fellas, but continue.
Yeah. So what I want to say is that I had to learn biblically how to begin to be the pearls on his neck, how to be the jewels in his crown. I didn't start off like who I am today. I start off with you're going to, you need to, and and you better, I'm gonna be very honest with you. You better do, and I'm not, and you got another thing
Let me
coming.
sip some tea here.
So those were the things, right? Because I saw my mother in a very unhealthy relationship, and my mother screamed and yelled to get her point across. And my brother, he just happened to be on here. My brother and I did not see the best type of relationship. So I had to lean on my pastors, which my mother was very smart to get us into the church early on. So I leaned on my pastors. I leaned on people to show me how to be with my husband. Because the Bible says for a woman to respect her husband and for a man to love his wife. And
remember, fellas, they didn't say understand. From a biblical sense, they didn't say understand. Don't try to sit in and try to understand everything. You're there to love, not understand.
What did you say, Q? We didn't hear you.
No, I was like, a lot of people always forget that second part about the husband is here to love. They just go straight, the woman's supposed to respect their husband. But I'm like, okay, there's another part to it.
Yeah, because how am I supposed to build a home? And then we work in concert together. So this is the egalitarian relationship we have here. Means that we go at it together equally. We are in a partnership. But that wasn't always like that. We had to begin to have different type of agreements with one another. Because as I grew, I was very young. I got married when I was 19. So, and I kept having children, and I had to begin to build. And I began to build, and we began to build, but then we began to grow apart. Because we were so busy building and forgot to build the marriage.
That's an interesting one. I did want to touch back on that with so you guys build together, but then you guys build apart. Because I feel like a lot of us are trying to find a relationship to build together. So how was it that you guys are building, but yet building apart? What is it that drifted you guys apart?
Yeah. So for us, for me, it was I was 19 and when I got married, right? Which is very young. So when I grew up,
especially nowadays.
Yes. So I grew up in the marriage, right? That means that I didn't know who I was. And then as I began to have my children, returned back to school, went and got my education, got a master's degree, licensed therapist, and all that other stuff that happened, had a business and all the things that happened. I needed my husband because I believe at some point he was my father, because my father was absent. And because he was acting as my father. And when I needed him to shift into husband, I was really upset and didn't know how to effectively communicate what I needed. And I think go ahead.
No, continue. I was just gonna say that's good.
Yeah, and then we were always in love with each other, but we became out of like with each other. And we've had to learn how to like each other again. And
I always hear about that. Now, let's just rewind back about the dominant. A lot of my followers would like to know, how do you approach a dominant woman? Because, since we're talking about dating and none of us are not yet married and we'd like to get to the stage, a lot of our followers, because they listening to you, Greg, and they want to know, for us to get a strong woman to have a strong foundation and know that my house is good, how do we approach a confident, strong, independent woman, especially in 2022?
I would say, number one, recognize the fact that you're looking for a partner. That's the number one thing. Don't go in there just looking at, because chase the mind and not the behind. If she can stimulate you mentally, then all of a sudden you start to look and you say, wait a minute, all of a sudden we was listening to the song earlier about Big Bad Mama Jamma. My wife was gyrating in the car. Now, if she got that to go along with what's going up in the mind, forget about it. Then you have something that you can work with. But you have to step to a woman, I would say, in 2022 in confidence and recognize You're not just looking for something. What can we do together? What is it that we can do that we can stimulate ourselves in a conversation? It almost reminds me of that movie Love Jones, where as a poet, he stimulated the female's mind. That was the thing that started it. Yeah, there was some sort of physical attraction, but the mindset was about, wait a minute, you're tapping her heart with words. You're having an opportunity to be in conversation. Anybody can jump in and think that, with this Instagram, world, that everything is going to be, everyone's has a six-pack and all this other. No, be regular, be yourself, but be confident in the fact that you are looking for someone that we're developing a we in, and not just saying, okay, what do I need from you? If you're going into it from what I need from you, then it's going to be a problem.
Well, so nowadays, a lot of us are not going to be as lucky to see, see a Cheryl in a school uniform and stuff, because now online dating is so popular.
Mm-hmm.
So how would this question would be for Cheryl, how would you want someone to approach you? Because men are easy to approach, but for a woman, how would you want someone to approach you online, or just because it's harder to approach people, especially with COVID and all of that? What are some of the things you think someone should say to you online to get a dominant, strong woman?
Well, this is what I will say, Q, and that's a very good question. I would say be who you are. Don't be the fake.
Okay.
Because I'll say this, the millennials, you guys sniff out the fake. There's something about the millennials. You guys are all about justice. So the Z generation right behind you are all about feel. They got to feel everything, right? But your generation is about justice. If you notice, all about the Black Lives Matter, it was all about you guys with justice, right? And if it's not fair, you guys leave your job. You don't stay around for money. You guys are about justice, right? So I say to you that if you're going to be in a relationship and you're serious about a relationship, if you're serious about being in a relationship, be you. Come real. Listen, hey, I'm thinking about, there's some things I'm thinking about really dating now. And just if you know someone out the bat, attempt to be their friend. Attempt to get to know them.
That's it.
Attempt to get to know them. I think that's what made us work, even back then. What I noticed about Greg, he was never ever no one that he was not. He was. I think I was more faking the funk than he was, because I lied about my age and everything. I was horrible. I really was. There's always that one person in the relationship, and he stuck it out. I'll say that. I was horrible. I lied about my age. What else I lied about? What else I said? I was only my age.
Don't worry. Just think of think of the scene of "I'm going to get you, sucker." That's it. That's all you got to just think about.
Oh no!
Just think about that.
She probably don't remember that movie. But I'll just say this. I'll say this. This whole thing is when you can get into a relationship to build. Remember, if you don't ever want to be married, then let that person know what that's about. If you want to just have a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, let that person know. And what that looks like, I think that you're beautiful. I think I want to get to know you better. What does that mean? What does that look like? And another one of your viewers said, how do I be intimate with someone I don't want to have sex with? I want to answer that question. You build and have intimacy with your mind and allow them to understand where you are in that relationship, and that person should respect the fact that you don't want to have sex. If somebody can't respect that, then I need for you to check that.
That's a red flag. That's how we're popular.
Exactly.
Right now. Red flags.
Exactly. Super exactly.
So, all right. So now we have more questions. Now that we're dating, we're courting each other. And now we're thinking about moving forward. Now, this is the issue that a lot of us always face, especially as millennials. With dating is easy. When we get to dating, either we're going to date for a little bit, or we're going to date a long time. The issue with us is getting into relationship and actually claiming that we're in relationships. Because one one of the biggest things, especially now with like poly and mono relationships and sneaky links and all of this social media, like our generation is doomed when it comes to relationships. So, what advice would you give to somebody that I would say is not mentally ready, but kind of is ready for a relationship? Like they know they want to be in a relationship. They know like this person could possibly be it. And then once they get in it, the horrors of, the social medias and the sneaky links and all of that stuff. When can you say that a person is ready to be in a relationship?
Well, let's look at the word relationship. It means you're being in relation with someone, and it looks like you're in a ship. That means you're in a ship. That means there should be at least only 2 people in the ship. You can't be dealing with 3, 4, 5 people in the ship, because all of a sudden you have everyone with their own oar spinning the whole ship around and no one is going anywhere. So when you start to recognize that if you're going to claim someone and be in a relationship, it's understandable, as my wife shared earlier, it's understandable if you've already established something that says, look, we're only going on a couple of dates, there's nothing serious. If someone comes along and says, look, I'm ready to claim you, I'm ready to claim them, then we understand you have to go on the side. You shouldn't still be DM'd or sneaky linked and all this other stuff, because now you're moving from one vision to division. Now, if you're going to deal with division, that you're going to be losing a lot of energy in this division.
Division. She want to know what division is.
Well, division, now you're splitting your energy. You're all over the place. Instead of you building something with the one person that you claim that you're moving towards that stage that you wish to claim, now all of a sudden I'm looking at Q and I want to be with B, I want to be with W, I want to be with X, I want to be with Y, I want to be with C.
Everybody looks good nowadays. That's the problem I'm realizing. Everybody has an eye for everything.
You know
nowadays.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
So in terms of, like, for instance, if let's just say I'm dating somebody and so one of the biggest things I do not like is that if I'm dating someone, I don't need my significant other on social media liking and scrolling other female pages, if you get what I mean. And I don't mind friends and all of that. I'm talking about video vixens, social media vixens. And I feel like that is one of the biggest anchors in relationships now, because everybody wants their girl to look like this girl, or they don't say it, but then the girl sees the guy constantly looking at that girl, or vice versa. And then everyone is trying to look like that person. And then now, once you finally get there, that person has eyes for something else. So it's like, I just feel like everybody's so pretty to them. Like at this world, everybody is just so pretty. Everyone just wants to mix and mingle now.
Well,
if I'm answering.
No. Well, I would say to that is that it starts with a level of acceptance. That's one of the A's in the book. Yeah. See, now, once you've gotten to the point that you are accepting the person that you start to entertain time with.
Go back. What's the first acceptance? Yourself. You got to accept
That's true. You got to accept yourself first. That's true. Because now if you don't go through self-acceptance, then you're going to always look at the IGs. You're going to look at the Facebooks. You're going to look at everything else and saying, well, I got to do this. I got to plump that. I need to inject this. Let me go fly across the globe.
Well, and all of a sudden, I wouldn't make that wrong.
I'm just saying. It's not about making it wrong.
No, I'm not saying
let me just finish my thought, and then you can interject all you want. What I'm simply... I'm not making plastic surgery wrong. That's not what I'm saying. If someone makes a choice that they wish to enhance themselves, they have every right to. What I'm talking about with self-acceptance starts internally even before someone touches or puts a knife on your body. Self-acceptance is that key where you start to recognize that regardless of all the video vixens out there or whatever is going on, or this website, that website, only this, only whatever. No, if you recognize that, look, this is the person that is willing to see me and I'm willing to allow them to see me at my most vulnerable. If this is a person that I know that has my back, if this is a person that is willing to go to war with me, regardless of whatever else you see, because the reason why I was bringing that up, like when we first started dating, I had a major thing for Janet Jackson. Major. But I recognized Cheryl was never going to be Janet Jackson, and it would have been unfair for me.
Greg was never going to get back with Janet Jackson.
And anyway, I guess she's going to make sure I was never going to see Janet Jackson. Anyway,
gonna make sure nothing.
anyway.
Janet was not in your league.
and not- nor was Al B. Shore. But anyway, we're not gonna go
They're
there.
gonna do for sure.
And so, but that acceptance level and recognizing that regardless if there's something else out there, because there can always be someone who's physically more attractive. But if that's what you just only looking for, then it kind of shows you how small you are.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to. So when you have to see when someone if you guys are going to decide to be monogamous, so let's do that. You have to agree to be in a monogamous relationship. Okay, that's number one. And when you do that there have been clients that we have saw, couples that we have saw that has had trust issues in their relationship because one or another has stepped out of the relationship. That is real. That is real. They've had children on them. They have given them a disease. This is real stuff that happens.
And it's getting worse.
Yes, it's COVID. COVID has made it. People are shacking up. People are being with each other, and it's really a real situation. So what we suggest is during that time of getting to know that person, you should also be honest with yourself and that other person about what's really going on. And that is not what we have. We do not have that. We do not know how to communicate. Most of us don't know how to communicate our feelings. We do not know how to communicate when we, thinking about other women or whatever, and how that looks and what that looks like with a poly relationship, all these other type of relationships that you can be in. The relationship is what you guys are going to agree on. And then you have a choice to choose whether you stay or whether you go. And that is what happens. You feel like you don't have a choice.
Now let's piggyback on the communication, especially with not having a choice. So a lot of us, like you said, do not know how to communicate. What does let's start with this question. What does a healthy communication in a relationship looks like? What does that look like for those who do not know what that looks like?
This is a great question, and may I take this one?
Of course you may.
So great. So one thing in the book it talks about.
Let me put the book up. One
thing in the books it talks about being codependent. I'll tell you one thing. It's one thing in the book that talks about being independent, codependent, or interdependent, right? So when you first,
what's the middle one? Independent,
independent, codependent, or interdependent, INTER, right? So where you want to be is that interdependency, right? So let me go through the first one, independent. Independent means that you rock by yourself. You rock and you know how to survive. You do you. You're surviving, right? And then, let me start at codependency. Codependency is where we start off. We start off with codependency with our parents. We are with our parents. We are codependent on our parents. We are codependent on them for every decision. When we launch into adulthood, we get independent. That's what happened with me. I didn't become independent. I went right into my marriage and got upset. See, I went from codependency to another codependency relationship. You got to identify where you are. So like you, Q, you are independent, right? And now when you're going into a relationship with somebody that's a fully independent person, you want to go into an interdependency relationship. Q is here, and the wonderful person that she decides is here. So Cheryl is standing in her own, Greg is standing in his own, and together they build. Individually, Cheryl is a therapist. Cheryl is a communication coach. Cheryl is that. Over here, Greg is a teacher. Greg is a coach. And together, we are Greg and Cheryl, and we build relationships.
I was like, I did want to touch on real quickly about how you went from a codependent to another codependent. So this was one of the topics that I have constantly with people in general. And one of the things that they say is people jumping from relationship to relationship, and they feel that everyone should have a whole era, if I'm politically correct. But, they feel like the independent, especially how you said you were annoyed, you went from codependency to another codependency. I'm not gonna say that the independence has to be the time where you're exploring your royal oats, but I've heard that it's needed, that you need that kind of era in your life to be able to be sure that you're ready to settle down. Is that true, or is that not true?
I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the person, because Greg had a whole era. I didn't have a whole era. So Greg was a hoe. So
clutch my pearls.
Greg was a hoe. I was not a hoe.
I was a hoe.
I had two.
Lord have mercy.
Were you not? I just can you deny it though?
Let me sip my tea.
Okay,
again.
thank you. So Greg was a hoe a little bit, right? And then when you look at that,
oh my goodness.
And so when he knew, so he had did that whole era, right? And then he saw me and he was like, "Oh, I'm good. I think I found my girl," right? And me on the other hand, I kind of didn't have a whole era, right? So in the midst of that, I don't think I needed a whole era, but I needed a space to be self-expressed. And I wasn't self-expressed because I went from being a teenager to a mom to a teen bride to a mom to into life, and I was getting more and more upset because I didn't have that. So I think that you having that era now as a therapist, I think that people should be able to launch successfully. And I do think the ages of 30 to 35 is great time for you to begin to get in a full-grown relationship, because you know fully who you are, some of us, and you can begin to build together with that person. I was still having tantrums in my relationship. I have full-blown tantrums. I would get upset, angry, stuff like that. And what happened was it trickled down to my children.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm not saying that Greg was all great. He was not. We cussed each other out.
Yeah, I was very reactionary, and believe you me, I can give as much as I receive.
Yeah, so it wasn't physical, but we were very verbally, I would say very verbally just abusive to each other. We were just not very kind to each other.
Well,
with our words.
It all boils down to, and I say it like this, and that's one of the reasons why we made it part of our process to make sure we especially help people who look like us.
And we're very transparent.
And one of the things that boils down to that is that the very forms of communication that are healthy are sometimes not really propagated or expressed in our households. So now that we're at a space now where we're recognizing that mental health is not a bad thing, that mental health, the appropriateness or the application of it, so that we can have the right tools, so we can build the right type of lives with each other. And even if we decide not to be together, like say in the millennial sense, even if you decide not to be together, there's a way that you can communicate it where you're not disempowering someone.
Yes.
So now that we're starting the whole stage in this movement, and how we developed a couple motivators community and everything like else, because we didn't say it was a marriage motivators community, it was a couple motivators community, because it's not about just reaching individuals who are married. Sometimes we have to reach those who are in those stages of developing their ship together so they can be in the right relations.
So what are some words or some, I would say, phrases that people should say in terms to start an argument, if they're in an argument, in terms to, communicate better? You know how one of the things that everybody always says, you have to say, I feel, instead of saying you do. So it's like, I'm not accusing you, I'm more so of me, like telling you how I feel. Mm-hmm. What other advice or what other phrases would you give those who are trying to communicate appropriately.
Yeah, I love this
If that makes
because
sense.
yeah,
Mhm.
it makes a lot of sense. And I have where I teach people, I find myself as a master communication coach, right? That's what I peg myself as, right? And
Mhm.
what I learned to do, and I tell couples in the relationship, always, and you can do this if you're not in a relationship, this is great. Always be in inquiry with someone. So
Okay.
that means that when you're in there with someone, I never just walk into a room and start talking. I never take for granted that Greg is doing something because we could take for granted someone. I always say to them, do you have a minute? Can I speak to you for a moment? You're always in inquiry. You're giving the person the invitation and then you're waiting for them to accept. And don't get upset if they don't accept your invitation. Like, is there a better time for me to come back and to discuss this?
I'm not gonna lie, that's really good because I am the type person to just walk into a room and start talking and not
Mhm.
realizing that someone is
Mhm.
busy. Then I get annoyed when you don't give me the time a little. I'm like, I just need 5 minutes. And
Exactly.
they're like, no, I'm busy.
Yeah.
My sister,
Yeah.
she definitely agrees to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
that's a good foundational thing in any relationship. That means that I
Okay.
respect your space. I respect you. And that is where I had to learn that it's not all about Cheryl. It's not all about Greg. It's about us being able to commune with each other in a way that's empowering the space. And that I'm always showing the love of God in that. So if you ever notice, if I may take us here just a little bit, when Jesus came into a space,
Mhm.
Jesus always brought the love of God with him. So when you come into a space, you want to see how you can empower the space. And when you come into the space, you don't bogart your way in the space, right? I used to bogart my way in the space. And then when I began to get my spiritual foundation really clear, I was able to be in concert with my husband. And then I was able to be with him. So I know his strengths, he knows my strengths, and we are in a dance.
I like this. I literally could sit here all day and talk to you guys about relationships all day. But I do want to ask one last question, and I'm gonna ask the both of you guys separately. Because we have the virtual speed dating, a virtual speed dating party coming up on Valentine's Day for our singles.
Yeah.
Let's start with Cheryl, ladies first. What advice would you give to us ladies who are going to start? Because you guys will be there. I'll tell them after. But what advice would you guys give to us ladies who are going to go through the process? Like, what questions do you think we should ask? Or what are the appropriate things you think we should do in able to really get a man on the virtual speed dating party?
So I think that you should really ask them, general questions to get to know them. Remember, it's not about you. You want to get to know that person. We make things about us. Let it be about them. Let them get to know who they are because you know what you're looking for. Right? So get to know them. You could get to know somebody in a couple of minutes. You can see if they're jittery. Do they give you good eye contact? You can tell by their like my husband, I can tell when he gets really uncomfortable, he does not look at someone because he is that eye contact person. When he gets uncomfortable, he may not look at you. Like he's comfortable here, like he's good. I know my husband. You got to figure out what that looks like. You got to figure out what that looks like for you and what you're looking for. So I would say come with some questions already, but don't be a robot about it. Let it flow naturally. Let your personality show. Hey, tell me a little bit about you. What do you do? How's it? Know about your family. Are you the second born, the third born, your first child?
Can we ask about finances?
I would say this. What do you do for a living? Right?
Okay.
What do you do for a living? And then you can say how important is money to you? You could say that.
Okay.
Instead of saying how much do you make? You know what I mean?
Mm.
That's different.
Okay.
That's different than asking them how much money you make. Because that can,
Okay.
for them, you don't know what that is going in for them, what they have for you.
Now, Greg, same question. What advice do you have for the fellas? What questions should they ask the ladies on the virtual speed dating party?
I would definitely say be in the space at same as my wife, in inquiry. Allow yourself to get into that woman's mind. Don't worry about trying to get into her behind yet. Think about getting into her mind, because if you can get into her mind and start to really ask pointed questions in the same way, you don't want to be forward about finances, things of that nature, but ask them about their career, ask them about their dreams. What is it that they wish? What do they see themselves? What do they see themselves in 5 years, 10 years? Those type of pointed questions can give you, if someone says, 10 years from now, I'm going to be X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to be single. Okay, you already know, walk away from that. Now you're not forcing yourself into someone, a circle into a square peg. You're not. But at the same time, just be in the space of inquiry where we're starting to become more sapiosexual. And if y'all can connect on the mind level, then, after a few dates and consenting adults, whatever happens, happens, Just don't go half on the baby
I like
yet.
that word. Sapiosexual. I used to always tell people I'm a sapiosexual.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't understand, that means he wasn't for me. That was one of the best words that I used to do on dates. Now,
well, do you make that? Let me ask you a question. You just said something there. Can you be a little coachable right now?
You said what?
Can you be a little coachable right now?
I can. I'm always coachable.
Okay, great. So you just said, when they don't understand that word for me, that was it for me. So, Q, I know that you are super intelligent, right? And it takes at times, and I'm not saying there's some men that are not what you might think that has on your same level, right? Mm-hmm. I want you to be able to be open that they can be able to learn from you.
Okay.
Just be open with that, and that I'm able to teach you how to do that. Do you think that's sexy? Because I think that that's sexy to me. And that's why you can get in. I think that's sexy. Do you know what sapiosexual is? No, I don't know what that means. Oh, well, he's a dumbass. And then you're going to go and move that, right? No. You say,
that's true.
Yeah. So you don't throw him out with the baby with the bathwater. You just be with that. You be with that and see if you can. Because there's certain other things. You're not going to have a perfect marriage. Greg and I have the perfect imperfect marriage.
Amen.
That's what we have. We have the perfect imperfect marriage. It works for us.
That. It works. 30 years. Who said it can't work?
That's true.
Now, I did one last question. Now that you guys have told us how to basically approach our women and our men for the virtual speed dating party, now that we got our matches and we like somebody, what should we do to keep them?
Be you.
That seems to be the answer for everything.
Because if you think about it, it's like when you go fishing and they wonder why. They say, how did you get the fish to bite on your hook? How come you caught so many fishes? My bait, I use the exact same bait each time. And I follow the same routine. And what happens is you don't have to create a story about who you are. You're not creating a scenario about what is being expected. What it is that, wait a minute, Q has arrived and we know who Q is. And then the person who's going to be molded, that the universe will make sure that Q has to be her complement, will be presented to her. And as they work out those positional things as they go along until they decide to put rings on it, then it will get to that particular point.
I could sit here and talk to you guys all day. By the way, I think I may have to schedule a therapy session. Maybe that's all.
Wow.
But for my viewers, let us know where we can find your book. Tell us a little bit more for those who are interested in reaching out to you guys more.
Absolutely. Well, if you want the 4 A's, what you can do is you can go to GregandCherylClark.com. It's our names, and Clark is with an E. That's Greg, Greg, Cheryl, and Clark, Cheryl, Cheryl, Clark, CLARKE.com. And there's a link there. You can connect with us there, and you can just be with us on. We have the book, and we're going to have some things that we're going to be coming out soon with, and we're going to be meeting couples, and we're going to be bringing them on to our podcast, and we're going to be really making a safe space for people to really learn about how to build in partnership and relationships.
And another thing, talkers. So I do want to share with everybody that we will have Cheryl and Greg at the virtual speed dating party for the first hour at the lounge area. You know, while the DJ Haitian Lover and DJ Chaos is spinning. Any questions that you guys have for them before the event starts that, you know, you want to ease up and get, you know, a little bit more comfortable while dating, they will be there. I'm excited. Like, and you guys get to meet me in person and realize how crazy.
Hey, we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great time on Monday. Lovers Day.
Lovers Day.
Lovers
Yes.
Day.
And singles get to find lovers. Yay.
Lovers
Yeah.
Day.
And, you know, just and create an atmosphere to come. Okay, those who are coming, those that are pessimists out there, if you are a pessimist, or I want you to be optimistic.
So don't come half empty, come
Yes.
half full.
Come with, I say, no should, no, I should, the nots, the can'ts. Take out the contraction in apostrophe T out of your vocabulary.
Wow.
Yes. Come with an open heart to love.
Yep.
If that is what you desire to be, and I also say, write an affirmation out before you come. Write an affirmative prayer before you come. Write something out there. If you see my house right now, it is full of Post-its around here. Because we write out affirmation. Would you
being Mary Jane?
Would you like to see it? I'm going to turn it around.
Just being Mary Jane.
Look at my wall. Do you see my wall?
Oh my God! No, that's dope.
Those
are real big Post-its. That's not small Post-its.
No.
We know why?
Because we have our plan around it.
We have a big life.
And we have our plan.
We have a big life.
We put our plan out there, and it has to be known the same way when you're entertaining or being in inquiry and being in a relationship. You have to put your best foot forward, but at the same time, you have to put your truthful foot forward. Don't go in there with this, you want to do like almost like 3-card Monty. I'm going to show them this and then, bait and switch. Mm-hmm. No, come there in expectation and recognizing that if you are looking for someone that you can potentially build your life with, not saying that you're not living, but if you want to build a life or a legacy with, and if this is the space, and this is one of the opportunities that you're going to take advantage of, come with a positive mind. If you come with that positive mind, you might leave with something that's going to enhance your life.
Yes.
And you're going to have an perfect relationship like the Clarks.
Amen.
I like that.
Oh,
you're welcome. Use that. Guys, that is all we have for tonight. I had an amazing time. I cannot wait to see everybody, especially you guys, so you guys can give me my therapy lessons. I can't wait to see everybody at the virtual speed dating party on Valentine's Day at 8 p.m. If you haven't purchased your tickets yet, make sure you go to datingfortheculture.com. It's the number 4, so it's dating, the number 4, theculture.com, and purchase your tickets. You can get all the information about the event. And if you guys have more questions for Greg and Cheryl, they will be there to answer your questions.
Yeah, and I'm also about supporting. So even though we're going to be there, I'm going to go buy a ticket because that's right. You know
Dating
what?
for the Culture, number 4.
The number 4.
The number. Dating for the Culture.
Yeah, the number 4. So I think that we should all do that. I don't care if you're not going to be there. It's about building this Black woman's establishment. We don't do that. So when we don't do that, we can begin to move. We can move together. Like if you see Black authors, if she writes a book, go ahead and share it. If she has something on there, go ahead and do it. Why? Because we don't support ourselves enough to begin to build our culture. So I'm dating for the culture. Go ahead and go ahead and get 2 tickets or whatever we got to get for that. We are supporting. We're supporting the culture, even that we're going to be there, because that's what we do. We support our own.
And make sure you guys go get their book, because after this event, you will need it to be in a relationship.
That's true. And we'll have our work. The workbook is not online, but we'll have that too there. So they have exercises to do.
What?
Yes, we'll have that there.
I can't wait. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Q, it was a pleasure meeting you. We love you to life.
It was amazing. You guys are dope. I can't wait to meet you guys on Monday in person. Can't wait.
All right. We're checking out now. God bless.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, you guys. Till later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Peace and blessings.